It's great to see so many names in the chat there. Please, in the chat, could you just let me know which country you're from? And just give me a signal just to let me know you can hear the sound okay, and you can see the picture okay, please. So from Bahrain, great to meet you from Bahrain. Oman, sounds like the UK. Yes, it's from the UK. Pakistan, hi Pakistan, Bahrain, Philippines, Dubai. It's good to see so many people from around the world tuning into this Aztec webinar. I'm really happy to be here with you today, and I'm hoping that you're going to find what the information that I'm going to give you very useful. We're going to go through a number of things today, which hopefully will help you to deal with the worry and the overthinking. But just to let you know at the start, there isn't one answer which will suit every single person on the chat. I'm going to give you today 13. Hi, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Kenya as well. We're going to give you 13 different things that will help you with stopping worrying, stopping overthinking. But not each one will be right for you. Some of them, Sudan. Hi, nice to see you from Sudan. Not every one of them will be perfect for you. What we're going to ask you to do is to write them down, try them, give them a chance, and choose the ones that you think best fit you. You know yourself better than anybody knows. You know your problems. You know that how you deal with the overthinking. So I'm going to go through a number of steps. Please don't think I'm asking you to take every one step by step, but overall, the principles, the advice I'm going to give you now will genuinely help you with dealing with worry, dealing with overthinking. So it's great to see you. I see you again from UAE. So it's nice to have so many people here. I'm going to share the screen with you so that you can see the slides. I do advise, if you have a pen and paper, to write down the things that we are advising, so that you can give them a try during this week and see if they help you with the issues that you have. So let me just share the slides. So the first thing I want you to know is that you're definitely not alone. If you're somebody who worries and overthinks, you're most definitely not alone. I don't think there's a human being on this earth that worries. If somebody says to me that they don't worry, I don't believe them anyway. I teach people how to overcome fear, anxiety, overthinking, stress. And I myself worry just the same. It's not about whether you worry, it's how much the worry takes over your life. So what we're going to do, you're definitely not alone. You're not crazy. If you're an overthinker, please don't panic that there's something wrong with you. It is a phenomenon that is around the world. Billions of people think the same way as you think. They struggle with overthinking. They struggle with worry. So you're not alone. You're not crazy. It's not something that only you are going through. This is something that is very, 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 very common with human beings in every country of the world. So number one, please don't worry that it's just you. It isn't just you. Now, what we need to look at is we need to look at the difference between concern and worry. So what I'm going to ask you to do in the chat is please to think about these terms, concern and worry, and tell me, what do you believe the difference is between being concerned about something and being worried about something? Please give us your answer in the chat so we can get an impression of your thoughts from around the world. I'll give you a few minutes just to type. What is the difference between concern and worry is the question. Yeah, concern doesn't necessarily mean that you're worried. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Concern tends to be short term. Worry takes the whole of you. Concern's positive, worry is negative. Worry is over concern. Good, that's a nice answer, Fatima. You see, I think you're right. When it comes to being concerned, there's nothing wrong with being concerned. We're concerned with our pensions, our finances, our health. Concern actually makes us look at our life and take some action. Concern can help us to make sure our finances in order. It can make sure, if I'm concerned about my health, maybe I will go to the gymnasium and do some work. Concern is definitely not a negative, it's a positive thing. But worry is something much more serious. Worry takes your emotions. Concerns can help in the long run. I agree 100%. To be concerned, please don't worry, don't think about concern. It's a good thing. But the problem with worry is it starts to go round and round and round in your mind. We start to overthink on the worry, and this can start causing us real problems. It can affect our happiness. It can affect our relationships, and worry can be a real burden. So the second question I want to ask you today is, can you add a single hour to your life by all the overthinking, all the worry that you do? Do you add a single hour to your life? Please give me the answer in the chat box. What does it do? How does it benefit you, the worry, the overthinking? Does it give you more time in life? Please just write in the chat box so we can see your answers. Nothing. It gives. Thank you, Jane. It gives you nothing. You can't add a single hour to your life. It doesn't benefit your health in any way. It doesn't benefit your relationships. It drains your time. Yeah, it definitely does. It's only a negative. It's a natural thing to worry, but it doesn't give you any great benefit or anything in your life. So what we're going to look at is practical ways that we can overcome our worry, overcome our overthinking. It can actually subtract years of your life, as you may die earlier. This is very true. If you ever look at somebody who's a constant worrier, the happiness levels and I genuinely believe it can affect your life expectancy as well. So that's right, Absalom. That's a good observation. Now, the first piece of advice I want to give to you comes from a guy called Dale Carnegie. He wrote a very famous book called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And this is a practical thing. Sometimes worry makes me focus more. Yeah, it can help to focus, but it depends on the level of worry that we have. So here's the first thing I need you to write down. I'm going to ask you to try this week to live in day-tight compartments. Day-tight compartments. If you look at the picture on the PowerPoint slide, you will see that the guy on here, he's thinking about his past in a negative way. He's thinking about his future in a negative way. And what he tends to miss out on is the here and now. And I think many of us, I don't know whether you recognize this, whether you do this, but sometimes we spend an awful lot of time thinking about things that happened in the past, which we can have absolutely no effect on. It's nice to reflect sometimes, but to spend the time looking into our past is unhelpful in many cases. Why worry about what went wrong last year, or whether a person is upset with you last year, when there's absolutely nothing you can do about this? The future, by the way, I'm a huge believer in creating a vision, setting goals, setting yourselves targets. Please don't hear that I'm saying don't plan for the future. I have a very clear plan for my future, and I work hard for it and I set goals for it, but I don't worry about the future. There's nothing I can control that's going to happen years and years in advance. I might as well set a plan, set my goals, work on the goals day by day, and not overthink what's going to happen in the future. We're living through a global pandemic, in case you haven't noticed. And many people are worried at this stage about what's going to happen with the pandemic, what's going to happen with our jobs, our careers, our finances. And these are very real things that we need to think about. But to lie in bed at night, mulling them over in our mind doesn't do us any good. It makes us more anxious. So the question is, how do we separate the past, the future, and begin to enjoy the here and now, the today's life? That's the only thing you can affect, is what you're going to do today. So what I'm going to ask you to do this week is to try to live in day-tight compartments. And what this means is, if you're in your home and a thought comes into your mind and you start to think about the past, I'm going to ask you to name that thought as the past. Or if something comes in and you think about the future, and I'm going to ask you to think, is this the past? Is this the future? Or is this present day? Is this today that I'm living in? If it's the past, I know it's not easy to do, but I'm going to ask you to try to discard what the thought is from the past. Try to erase the thought from the past, because it's not helpful to you. It doesn't give you any benefit at all. When you start to worry about the future, name that thought. This is a future thought that I'm now thinking. And again, try to disregard the thoughts and focus on today. The only thing you can affect is today. So I'm going to ask you to do this. I know it's not easy to do. Sometimes I don't manage to do this myself. But it's very important that we live in day-tight compartments. If you imagine a ship, by the way, a big ocean liner or a cruise ship, in the bottom of the ship, they have ballast in the bottom of the ship, and this is what keeps the ship upright. So in the bottom of the boat, they have a great big void area. This area can be filled with water, and as the water seeps into the bottom of the boat, it helps to upright the boat and make sure it's upright. But if you ever look into the ship's design, they don't just have one big open space for the ballast at the bottom of the boat. They put compartments, separate compartments in the bottom. The reason for this is, if the ship is damaged in any way, something hits the ship, the iceberg for Titanic, or a ship rams into the ship, you don't want all the ship to be flooded and the water to be sloshing from one side to the other side. They compartmentize the ship. What we're asking you to do is to live in compartments, rather than allowing the past and the future and the present to all swirl around in your mind. Name the thought. Is this past? Is this present? Is this future? And separate your thoughts in this way. This is one technique which will help you to overcome the worry, help you to stop overthinking, because you're only now focused on today rather than the past or the future. The second thing I would advise you to do, and this is quite controversial because some people disagree with what I'm going to say now, but it's very, very helpful, even though it's not an easy thing to do. What we're going to ask you to do this week is, if you're lying in bed and you're worried about something, or you're at work and you're worried about something, we're going to ask you to think, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? Now, I know this is unpopular, because the worst thing that could possibly happen is sometimes quite terrible. But it's very important that you visualize, what is the very, very worst thing that can happen? Will you die? Are you going to die? If you don't die, we have a chance. Sometimes I've lay in bed in the past, or I've been thinking, what happens if my boss doesn't like this? What happens if the client doesn't like this, or the delegate doesn't like this? But when I think, what's the worst thing that can possibly happen? Will it mean my house, the roof over my head, is taken away? Will it mean that I die? Will it mean that I lose my family? Will it mean that I lose my friends? And what we're going to ask you to do is to put it into some kind of context. It's not easy to do, I understand, but we're going to ask you to picture what is the very worst thing that could happen and then learn to accept that. Obviously, I don't mean to do nothing. We've got to work to, to improve on that. But if the very worst thing happened, would you still survive? Would you still have a roof over your head? Would you still have your family? Would you still have your friends, your husband, your wife, your health? So we're going to ask you to think about it. And it's difficult to do. I do understand it's difficult to do. But think about what is the worst thing that could possibly happen, and then learn to accept that this could happen. And if it does, you will still live, so we can carry on. It takes away the power of the fear when we start to visualize this. So number 2 thing I'm going to ask you to think about, what is the worst thing that could happen, and then learn to accept this fate. If this is to happen, this is to happen. I'm not going to die through doing this. Number 3, the next thing that we're going to ask you to do, the tip or advice we could give you to overcome your worry and overthinking, is to look at the law of averages. I've been in consultancy and training, by the way, for 25 years this year. In my early days, I used to worry all the time. What happens if I turn up late for a training session? What happens if I miss the transportation? What happens if I miss the flight? What happens if the flight crashes? And if I'm not careful, all these things could swirl around in my mind and send me crazy. But when you actually look at what is the law of averages, let's take, for example, how many people fear flying or spiders, or in fact, in the chat, please write down what do you fear? What are the fears that you have? What do you lie in bed and worry about? Let's just have some open dialogue. Wasps, you worry about the wasp. Those things, I don't know why God invented wasps. Fear of losing people I love, exactly. I think that's something, letting people down. Yeah, it's something that I think we all worry about. What other things do you fear? Your future career. Yeah, it's very true. I think a lot of us sit there and we ponder our future career. The darkness. Yeah, we worry about the darkness. Now, let's just go with some of these. Diseases. Yeah, we worry about getting a disease. We worry about lack of finances, lack of things in our life. And when you start to ponder on these things, these are very serious things. Disease is a very serious thing. And we worry about catching a disease. Fear of retiring without proper preparation. Exactly. I'm 50 years old, by the way. So when I was young, I had planned that by now I was going to be a multi-billionaire and live in a mansion. When you get to 50 years old and you haven't, you start to think of your pension and preparation. Worry, we fear a small family, my small family. Fear darkness. Oh, sorry, fear darkness. I understand. Fear doing the best, but I don't. I can, but don't desire the results I want in life. Yeah, it's very true. I think this is something, again, that we're going to talk about a little bit later in the webinar, but it's something we have. Let's go, by the way, let's just explain to you the law of averages. Somebody at the start of the chat said wasp. They fear the wasp, or fear disappointing others, somebody's put, not achieving my dreams. Let's go with the wasp for number 1. We fear being stung by the wasp, or we fear the wasp. The law of averages says, how many times in your life so far have you been stung by a wasp? How many times? Please, in the once. So somebody's been, Sharon's been stung once in her entire life by a wasp. We fear this thing. We're going to be stung by the wasp, or we're going to, the spider will attack us, but when you look at the law of averages, it is very, very, very low probability you will be stung by the wasp. It is very, very low probability a spider will attack you. It is very, very low probability in the dark something terrible is going to happen to you. So we sometimes build up in our mind the fear. But when you rationalize the fear, you actually do a little bit of analysis. Sometimes the probability of the thing we're fearing is insignificant. There are many people afraid of flying, which is hence the plane. There are many people afraid of flying, and yet when you look statistically, your chances of dying in a plane crash are very, very minute. So we have to take the thing that we're fearing, and we have to look at the law of averages. I used to fear what would happen if I turned up late for a training session. I overslept. All the delegates are sitting in the training room and I'm still sleeping in bed. I used to worry about this. But in 25 years of training, I've never been late for the training session. So on the law of averages, I can say that the chances of me doing this are so insignificant. The probability is so low that I don't need to spend my time worrying about this. So tip number 3, use the law of averages. Look at your fear, letting people down, disappointing somebody. Look at the length of your life. I'm 50 years old. How many times have I let somebody down or disappointed somebody? Sure, I've done this in my life, but how many? Is it worth all the fear and anxiety and stress worrying about this when the probability is very, very low that this will happen? So, number 3 tip, use the law of averages. Number 4, we're going to ask you, number 4, this is something that I think is very practical thing, something you can actually start doing right away if you want to overcome your worry, if you want to overcome overthinking, is get busy. I watched a video yesterday. It was a friend of mine sent me a video, and it was a father. He had 2 babies. You may have seen the video. It's going around YouTube at the moment. He has 2 newborn babies on the bed, and he's trying to dress the 2 babies, put them in the baby grow. As he's trying to, as he puts 2 hands on one, the other one disappears off the bed. He has to grab the other child. As soon as he brings this child runs. And this guy had a real nightmare trying to dress these 2 children, because he's constantly having to watch where the children are going, how they are moving. And what I enjoyed the video. It was a good, fun video. I recommend look it up on YouTube. It's hilarious. But the fact is that when you're busy, we don't start to think and overthink and worry when we're busy. I don't mean overworking, long hours and things. What I'm talking about is giving yourself activities to do to fill your day, so that we're not sitting around pondering the past, pondering the future. We keep ourselves busy. A busy person, blessed is a person, they're so busy, they have no time to worry during the day. And at the end of the day, they're exhausted. They're too sleepy to worry when they go to bed at night. So my advice to you, get busy. If your brain starts to overthink, immediately give yourself a task to do. Clean the house, clean the car, do something, write something, do something that's going to keep you busy and distract you from the worry. You will find that as soon as you get busy, you will find that the worry disappears from your mind. The overthinking disappears. But the biggest killer for people who worry and overthink is spending too much time where we just have nothing to do. This is when our brains go into overdrive. So tip number 4, get busy. As soon as you start to worry, don't sit there and ponder on what you're thinking. Stand up, get up, start a task, start a challenge, and get yourself busy. And you will see that the worry and the overthinking will start to disappear as you do this. So number 4, get busy. Number 5, we're going to ask you to, this week, for me, this is a really important thing. Count your blessings. We have so many things that we worry about and we overthink, but for some reason, human nature looks at the negative rather than looking at the positive. If you woke up this morning and you ate food, you know you're incredibly lucky if you woke up this morning and you've eaten food. There are people all over this world today starving and have no food to eat, but sometimes we take these things for granted. There are people today having bullets fired in different countries, in Yemen now, and in different countries around the world. There are people in war zones as we speak on this webinar. If we have a roof over our head, we're incredibly lucky. If we have family, we're incredibly lucky. We've got to learn to count our blessings. I was looking, in fact, do me a favor, please. If you can see, I'd like you to look down and look at your hand. Just turn your eyes, look at your hand like this, and see the hand that you have. You know, if you look at the skin on your hand, I'm 50 years old. This I know skin reproduces and so on and so on, but this skin is waterproof. It repairs itself if it's torn. It deals with heat. It deals with cold. The human eye is just an incredible thing. Breathing, just the fact you can take a breath. You look like Nancy. Thank you. You know, you look at all those people that are sat today on the ventilators due to COVID and other reasons, just struggling to take one breath. We don't even think about it. The way our heart beats when we're asleep, we don't think about these things. But what I'm going to ask you to do this week is really focus. Count your blessings. Look around at your children. Look at your husband or wife. Look at your family. And really start to count the many, 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 many blessings that you have in your life. Because once you start to recognize how much you have, the fear, the anxiety, the overthinking starts to go down when you count your blessings. I often write them down. I find writing them down is very helpful. Waking up among the living. Absolutely. Every day above ground is a good day. Right? Every day I can wake up and breathe is a good day. I can see. How many people wake up today and they're blind, they can't see? Some people don't wake up today. So please, this week, even though we have many real things that we, important things to think about, if I advise you on anything, think about your blessings. If you do this, you will find that your worry starts to decrease, your overthinking starts to decrease in proportion to the amount that you count your blessings. Next one sounds obvious, but it's very important. It's hard to worry and overthink when you're helping somebody else. If you ever notice in your life, if you think about the times that you've helped people, you find that during those times of helping other people, you often don't worry and overthink about yourself because your focus now is entirely on the other person. And this world is crying out for people to help. There's enough people who are poor and starving and hungry and need our help. Most countries around the world are crying for people to volunteer and help people. We're going through COVID. The opium of life and fulfillment, satisfying is reaching out. I agree 100%, Nancy. We're going through COVID now. You know, loneliness is a huge problem. We can go out of our way and sit and talk to somebody who is lonely. We can help. If we have the finances, we can provide. But when you help other people, you will find that your worry and your overthinking will disappear. So find somebody to help, find a cause, find a charity, find something that you can go out and help other people. And when you're focused on them, you won't be focused on yourself. So tip number 6, go out of your way, make a concerted effort to go out of your way and help other people. And I'm sure you do already, but even more than you do now. By helping them, you're helping yourself to beat your worry and your overthinking. When you do help people though, tip number 7, is expect ingratitude. For me, number 7 is very, very helpful. Expect ingratitude. People will not always thank you for the things that you do. Your boss won't always give you the appreciation that you deserve. Your children will not always appreciate the mums of the world for all the hard work that they do. They don't appreciate just the small things. We feed our children. They don't necessarily every day thank us for this. And as you go through life, if you're expecting people to give you appreciation, give you thanks for the things you do, you're setting yourself up for a whole load of overthinking. Because you're going to end up overthinking why this person didn't thank me. Why does my boss not appreciate me? Why didn't I get recognition for this project? Why didn't I get accepted in the meeting? What we need to do is learn to expect ingratitude. This is just a part of life. The more you expect people will recognize you and do all these things, the more you will find yourself unhappy, stressed, worrying, and overthinking. The easiest thing, expect people to be ungrateful to you, expect people not to appreciate you, and get good at forgiveness. Our friends, our families, sometimes they say stupid things, they do stupid things. They don't return things. We've gone out of our way to help them, and they don't necessarily return the help to us. We can get bitter about this, or we can just learn to forgive, move on. In doing so, in forgiving other people, in expecting ingratitude from them, what we're doing is we're freeing ourselves from all the thoughts that go around in our mind about other people. Just expect them to be ungrateful. If you do this, you will find that your worry decreases, your overthinking decreases. When people get on your nerves, do things wrong, just forgive them. When they cut you up in the traffic this morning, or they honk you with the horn, just forgive them. About 2 years ago, I was driving down the road here, down the road in where I live in Manchester. A car cuts me up like this, and I allowed this person to stick in my mind for over 1 hour because I was thinking how annoyed I was, what an idiot this guy was, how he shouldn't be allowed on the road, how if I caught him, I would beat him. And I was thinking all these thoughts about this man who probably had no idea that he'd even upset me. He had no idea that he'd caused me any problem. So my advice to you, expect ingratitude. Learn to forgive people. Just forgive them. By forgiving them, you will free up yourself from worry. Ahmed, self-satisfaction. I'm just aiming for God's blessing to make sure that all my work is under God's supervision, and that's how I achieve self-satisfaction. Good for you, Ahmed. Good for you. We can't please human beings all the time. If you expect everybody to be so grateful to you, so appreciative of you, you're setting yourself up for a big fall. Expecting gratitude, learn to. Sorry, someone's saying they can't hear the presentation, so we'll try and work on that in the background. Learn to forgive and expect ingratitude. Next one, number 8, pray. I don't know whether you're religious but many people around the world have religion, and many people pray around the world from all different religions. Praying gives we're releasing everything, our fears, our worries onto God. Now, some people don't believe in God. I understand this, but releasing your fears, your worries, the things about our future that we worry about in prayer is a tremendous relief for many people. If you think, by the way, it's very interesting. If you look at, for thousands and thousands of years, people have prayed. And in recent times, people now go to therapy. They go for help, psychotherapy and things like this. And when you ever get trained in counseling or therapy, anything like this, You're taught to listen. The whole point of the modern therapies is the fact that somebody can come and unburden themselves onto somebody who is more knowledgeable than them and somebody who won't judge them. This is like in the modern day, they call therapy. If you have a religion, I encourage you to pray. Praying will release the worry from you and put the worry elsewhere. So number 8, if you want to reduce your worry, you want to reduce your overthinking, stop trying to solve the problem yourself. Pray. If you're not religious, go get therapy or help, or talk the problem out with a friend. But don't sit and try and ponder it all and solve the problem yourself. It's unhelpful to you if you do this. Number 9. One of the biggest causes I find of people overthinking is this one, number 9. The advice we're giving you on this particular one is to strive to live an authentic and a congruent life. Most of us, we have in our lives multiple roles. So we have we go to work, and sometimes we're one person at work and we're one person at home. This is normal, by the way. I think everybody has a slight difference between the two. But when we talk about the authentic living, or living an authentic life, our core values, our core beliefs must remain the same, whether we're in work, whether we're with friends, whether we're with family, whether we're on our own. If we go to work and we tell our friends that we believe one thing, our colleagues that we believe one thing, and we tell our friends we believe a different thing, and we tell our family we believe a different thing, what we're setting ourselves up for is worry and overthinking. What we need to do is live an authentic life. We need to be congruent in the way that we live. I'll give you an example, by the way, to make the concept much more easy. Sometimes when you go to work, you will find that you will see people, they're very charming, charismatic, they're funny, they're humorous, they're charming at work. But that same person may be going home and be horrible to his wife, shouting at his children. He could be doing terrible, terrible things in the home, abusing, alcoholic. But on the surface at work, he shows himself to be, this fine, charismatic man. What this is going to cause in him is it's going to cause great dis-ease in his life, because he's constantly going to be worried about being found out. Will work find out who I am? Will my friends find out who I am? Will people see the real me? Will they see my faults, my weaknesses? And the answer to this is we don't have to live a perfect life, but what we have to live is a congruent life, where you can I can bump into your work colleague, your friend, your husband, your wife, your children, and all of them will say the same thing about you. We're not one person in public, one person in private. If you can do this, what you will find is it will give you a great sense of calm in your life. It will give you an inner peace, and it will mean that you don't constantly have to worry over, will this person find out? Will this person find out? Will I be exposed in any way, shape, or form? So number 9, I'm going to ask you to please try your best to live an authentic life where you're truthful, you're honest with people, and live a congruent life where you're the same person or as near to the same person as you can be, your values, your ethics, your beliefs at work as you are. Yeah, double living is this. If we're double living, we're going to have nothing but worry and fear and stress in our life. Live an honest life, as best you can, live a pure life, and just be straight with people, and you will find that your worry and your overthinking will disappear. I will come back to the comments, Ahmed, because I'm just trying to read the comments as I go through. So I want to read this and try to get to this comment. Number 10. Let me ask you a question, by the way. This is a maybe a slightly controversial question. if you follow your feelings and you follow your emotions, will they lead you to happiness, or will they lead you to worry and overthinking? Please, in the chats, please write. If you follow your feelings and if you follow your emotions, will that lead you to a place of happiness and inner peace, or will it lead you to a place of anxiety or stress? Please, in the comments, write. It leads to happiness. Follow your feelings will lead you to happiness. Okay? Overthinking. So somebody says overthinking, somebody says stress, somebody says anxiety. You see, it's very difficult because all our lives we're told it can lead to anxiety and stress. It can lead us to a place of stress and anxiety. You see, all our lives people tell us, follow your feelings, go with your feelings, go with your feelings. I don't know about you, but some of my feelings are unhelpful. I think it's a balance. It's a fair comment. That's a fair comment. We have to recognize our feelings, but I don't think if we live off our feelings change all the time. Our emotions change hour by hour. And if we act on our emotions, on our feelings all the time, sometimes it's not helpful. I feel like eating chocolate more than I feel like eating salad. You know, I don't feel like going out for a run sometimes, but going for a run will help me out. So I'm not saying ignore your emotions, and I'm not saying, I'm not really, they will lead to being stressed. Yeah, it's the balance that we need to get. So I'm not saying ignore emotions and things, but stop going with your emotions all the time. Sometimes we need to control our feelings, have self-awareness and relationship management. Well done. Well said. Well said. The people who live off their emotions all the time find that they are usually in the higher stress levels than people who, accept, yes, we have emotions, we have feelings, but that's not going to stop me doing what I need to do on a daily basis. There are probably many mothers, fathers sat listening to us on here. Some days I'm sure you don't feel like making dinner for the children and don't feel like mending the clothes and doing all these things. You don't feel like doing these things, but you do them anyway. You're not going with the emotion and the feeling of the moment. We do things despite our emotions and feelings. If you do this, you will find your life will be much more peaceful, and you'll have much less overthinking and stress in your life. Do the right thing rather than doing the thing that our emotions necessarily tell us to do. Just a few more, and then we'll get to some questions that we have in the chat. Number 11. So number 11. We'll try to get to the answer of this. How do we stop this? We'll try to get to this answer when we go to questions and answers. But I'll just go through the last few, and then we will try and do some answers. Some people said earlier when they worry about the future. They worry about not achieving their dreams, not living up to their own expectations. They worry that, maybe in the future I want to be this successful guy, but maybe I'm not going to reach it. And what we've got to look at is the difference between happiness and inner peace. I don't know if it's possible to be happy all the time. And the modern world tries to tell us that we must be happy all the time. For me, this is unrealistic. Happiness tends to go up and down. It's like a mood. It can change hour by hour. I'm not saying happiness is a bad thing. What I'm saying is, if you want to get rid of the worry, get rid of the overthinking, striving for the happiness, especially in material things, doesn't particularly help. What we should strive instead for is inner peace, inner calm, a satisfaction with who you are as a person in your life. And it's not easy to reach inner peace. But I think one of the things I see now is people are striving for happiness in the material world. They think to go and buy a handbag will make them happy. It will for a few hours or one day. They think if if they get a bigger house, it will make them happy. There are mansions around the world sat with people who are unhappy sat in the mansion. It's not about striving all the time for happiness through material things, financial things. It's finding a deep inner peace. And the way you find the inner peace is you have to live a authentic life and a congruent life. A life where you count your blessings. A life, if our happiness is based on material things, it will not last. Yeah, I agree 100%. The way to find inner peace is what we do is we live an authentic life, a congruent life, a life full of gratefulness, where we are grateful for the things we have. You lead a life where we help other people, where we don't expect other people to give us things in return. We expect people to be ungrateful, but we become happy with who we are as human beings. And final one, then we'll try to get to some questions before we end. One of the other big challenges that we have is comparing ourselves to other people. It's a huge issue. And now with the age of social media, this is bigger than ever. I don't know about you, but when you look on Facebook, Instagram, have you noticed everybody's rich? Everybody's happy. Everybody's beautiful. Everybody's handsome. You spend half an hour looking through Instagram and you realize that everybody in the world has a beautiful house except you. Everybody seems to be having fun except for you. You're at home trying to deal with the babies, and when you look on Instagram, everybody's enjoying themselves and doing wonderful things. Please don't try to compare yourself with this perfect life. The truth is, the perfect life is a lie. Sure, some people have them, but most of them don't. And if we start to compare ourselves with people, these the influencers and things like this, God bless them. I'm not nothing against them, but we're setting ourselves up for a life where we're going to constantly be overthinking. How come I haven't reached this level of success that they've reached? Why is my house not as beautiful as theirs? Why am I not as handsome as these people? So please, number 12, we have to stop comparing ourselves to other people. You are a unique person, and just the way you are, all you can do is work with yourself. Stop comparing yourself to some influencer on Facebook or Twitter or whoever it would be. Most of the time, they're telling you lies anyway. Most of the time, what they're showing you is fake. So don't get yourself caught up in comparison. Try to live an authentic life. Try to live an honest life. Try to live a congruent life where you help other people. You are grateful for the things that you have. You expect other people to be to not give you the appreciation and kindness and everything you think you deserve. Be humble. And when we do these things, you will find that your worry decreases because we're no longer trying to impress other people. And what you will find is you will gain inner peace if you do these things. So what we're going to do, this is the end of our 12 pieces of tips or advice. What I'm going to ask you to do now in the chat, before we get to any questions, is please just write down which ones you think would help you personally, because you know yourself better than anybody else. So in the chat, just write one down. Each person, please choose one. What is it that you think that you're going to start to work on this week that will help you to reduce? Will it be living in day-tight compartments? Will it be expecting ingratitude? Will it be being more grateful, getting busy, prayer, stopping the comparison that we do through meditation and yoga? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Prayer. So we need to start working on these things. And if we do this, what we will find is that our level of anxiety, our level of worry will start to decrease. Now, I apologize. This is so fast, by the way, because 1 hour goes super fast. So if you have any questions, please pop them in the chat and we'll try to answer as many as we can in the last few minutes. I know I missed the question earlier, but if you do have any questions, please let us know the question. I'll try my best to answer. And then once we've done this, we will leave. Stop comparing yourself with other people. You know, if you just stop this comparison, it makes a huge difference to your life. We don't need to be anybody else. Thank you very much, Ahmed. Thank you. Honestly, I appreciate it. We have a couple of minutes, literally just 2 minutes left. If anybody has a question, we may be able to squeeze a question in. I will just wait just to see if a question comes up. Thank you. It is an important topic. You know, there's a lot of people suffer now with worry and overthinking. And I really hope these things help. Because when people start to overthink, it starts to, yeah, okay. So maybe you could stop sharing the presentation. Focus on the cam. Come on, let's do this. Stop. So I'm trying to see. So if anybody has any questions, please put them in the chat. We'll try to answer the questions. And if there's no questions, then we will say our goodbyes and we will leave it for today. So I'll give you a moment just to see if anybody asks a question. How can I stop the avoid acting on your emotions? Good question. I think with the emotions, when it comes down to acting on the emotions, I think the first thing that we have to do is to recognize that it is an emotion. For example, sometimes you will feel angry. It is good to name the fact that it's a feeling that I'm feeling. And once you start to name the emotion that you're feeling, that can sometimes help. It's a very, very difficult thing to do, to stop acting on your emotions. But we need to recognize the fact that it's damaging. For me, with the emotion is you will never 100% not act on your emotions. What I find is important is if you have your plan, you have your daily plan, you have your goals set. My thinking is that it will work through my plan regardless of my emotions. If I feel angry today, I'll still work my plan. If I feel frustrated today, I will still work my plan. Whatever the emotion is, it will not distract us from our plan. That's about the best I can do. I'm sorry I can't give you a bigger answer in the time. Can trauma cause worry? I think trauma definitely causes worry. And definitely overthinking. Whenever a big trauma happens in our life, it is inevitable that we're going to think about the trauma. And it's not an easy thing to deal with. Depends on what the trauma is, of course, but it's not an easy thing. Very recently, by the way, I don't know if we have people from Nigeria in the room. We had somebody in our family lost a family member just this week. And you imagine the trauma of the event that happened is a very, very tragic event. And to say to somebody, don't worry or don't overthink this is asking too much. It's human nature that we will worry and overthink. But one of the things that we can do is to try our best to get busy, focus on the tips that we've given you today, and it will help you to do this. Please, it will never eradicate overthinking in a trauma. From Nigeria, we lost a friend in the explosion. So, as a family, this is something that some very close family members of ours are dealing with. And there's no way that a trauma you will not think about. What we have to do is to try to get busy, focus, try to get ourselves busy, distract ourselves as much as we possibly can. And again, focus on gratitude, our blessings and things like this. But it's not an easy thing to do. Any last question? We have time for one more question and then we'll get going. I'm so happy, by the way, while we look for the questions, I'm so happy to see people from so many different countries. I'm looking at all the different names and the locations. It's great to see you all. How to stop worrying about COVID-19. Yeah, very relevant. Very relevant at the moment. This COVID-19, you know, by the way, don't ever listen to me when it comes to predictions. I said this would be over months ago and it wasn't. I think, again, when it comes to stopping worrying about COVID-19, I think, again, we have to go back to the law of averages. Where the law of averages says, what is the possibility of me catching COVID-19? I currently live, by the way, in Manchester, which is one of the highest places in Europe for COVID-19. When I start to worry about COVID, what I do is I go to law of averages. Currently, the statistics for Manchester is 230 people per 100,000 people catch COVID. Most of the people who catch COVID don't end up in hospital with COVID. They end up with, you know, like a flu-like symptoms. And very few people that go to hospital then end up on the ventilator. So when I start to look at the law of averages, this helps me then to calm down any fears and worries that I have about COVID-19. And of course, make sure you stay safe. Wash your hands, keep your distance, and do everything that we do. But the law of averages will help you when it comes to worry about COVID-19. So we've reached the end of our webinar. Let me see. How do you differentiate between being overthinking or thinking about contingency plan? What can go wrong? I'll use this as our final question. Please, I encourage you to do contingency plans. I'm a huge fan of planning, making sure that we have things planned for the future. We have vision, we have goals, we have contingency plans. Please don't think I'm saying don't do contingency plans. That's important. But once the contingency plan is written, we no longer need to keep overthinking about the contingency plan. Maybe it gets a review every 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. But contingency planning is something I highly, highly recommend. But once the plan is documented, once the plan is written, then at this point, we need to put it to bed and stop overthinking at this stage. So it's a great question. Please do your contingency plan, but please don't worry. Thank you so much. Thank you, Absalom. Thank you so much for everybody for joining the webinar today. We really hope from Aztec Training, we hope that it's been useful to you and that there are things on here that you can use to help you reduce your worry and overthinking in your life. Please stay safe. Please follow all the guidelines for your country for COVID. And I'm really excited to get back to Dubai and traveling around the world to see you back in a classroom with us so we can run a course face to face and we can get to meet each other once more. Please take a look at the Aztec website. We have many, many online courses for the moment, but we're hoping to be back in the classroom very soon, and we look forward to welcoming you there. So we'll end the session here. Have a great day. God bless to you all, and we will see you in a classroom with Aztec Training soon. Bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.